Welcome back to Iowa as we take a look at the famous arches over the Des Moines River. Well, the candidate who has soaked up the lion's share of the attention in this campaign kept at it this week. The question of whether Donald Trump would or wouldn't attend the Fox News debate became a kind of soap opera. As we all know, he didn't, which he admits is a big gamble just before the caucuses. But last night we spoke with Trump in his first Fox interview since the debate. He was down the road about 2 hours at a campaign event in Davenport. Mr. Trump, welcome back to Fox News Sunday. I want to start with that new Iowa poll. 3 weeks ago, you were trailing Ted Cruz by 3 points. Now you're leading by 5 points. I guess the question for you is, how come?
Well, we had a great week and maybe even a great couple of weeks in Iowa. We've been here a lot. I have a fantastic relationship with the people of Iowa and the evangelicals and the Tea Party. And we really have done a lot of work in Iowa. And I've gotten to know a lot more people. And, you know, I've known the folks here for a long time, but we really, there's been some very special things happen over the last 2 weeks, Chris.
Now, 29% of people in the polls say they disapprove of your decision to skip the debate. What do you want to say to voters in these final hours before the caucuses who may feel that you snubbed them by not showing up at the one debate to be held here in Iowa?
Well, you know, you love Fox, and so do I, and I get along great, and I have great respect for Roger Ailes. But what happened is they put out a press release that was very nasty. It was taunting, and it was just not appropriate.
Wait. I don't want to get it. I don't want to get into that. I'm just saying, what do you want to say to voters who feel that you snubbed them?
Well, what I'm saying is you have to stick up for your rights. And in the meantime, I raised $6 million for the veterans, which is very important. And you have to stick up for your rights. You can't let people do that to you. And just like if I were running the country, I'd stick up for our country. But you can't let people do that. And frankly, I had a very successful evening. We had a tremendous overflow crowd. And we raised in 1 hour, Chris, which I think you're very happy about, for the vets, we raised $6 million. So I was very happy about that. It was a great thing. It was a great decision. And we'll do it again sometime, Chris.
Okay. Ted Cruz, who I suspect you're familiar with, says the real reason that you skipped the debate is because you want to hide your liberal record from voters. Here's Mr. Cruz.
He doesn't want to debate cronyism because Donald supported President Obama's TARP bailout of the big Wall Street banks. Donald supported President Obama's stimulus plan. And if you can't debate the issues, the only thing you have left to do is toss insults.
Senator Cruz says, Mr. Trump, that you're trying to hide your support for the bailout and the stimulus. You're trying to hide your record from voters.
Chris, I'm not trying to hide anything. I was a businessman. I had many different feelings about many different things. And by the way, in business, as you know, you have flexibility. You can do many things many different ways. What I am very sure of is that Senator Cruz has hid the fact that he had major loans from Citibank and Goldman Sachs that he didn't put on his personal financial disclosure form. That's called hiding a record. I wasn't in politics when I was coming up with different views. Nobody even asked me my views, frankly. I was a businessman. My views didn't matter. I'm not a politician. Now, for the last 7 months, I've been a politician. But what I can tell you is that he's got a situation where he didn't disclose Goldman Sachs. He didn't disclose Citibank on his personal financial disclosure form. He didn't disclose to a lot of people the whole thing where he was born in Canada, which probably makes it so he might not even be able to run, according to many, many constitutional scholars. And he said he didn't even know he was a citizen of Canada until 15 months ago. So give me a break. He shouldn't be mentioning me. Here's a couple of things. He didn't know he was a citizen of Canada. Give me a break, Chris.
You talked earlier about the veterans event you held during the debate and that you're proud of it, and understandably so. You raised $6 million, including $1 million out of your own pocket. But, sir, Forbes magazine took a look at your record of supporting veterans groups over the years, and what they found is that from 2009 to 2013, the Trump Foundation donated $57,000 to groups helping veterans. But over the years, they say that you gave at least twice that, somewhere between $100,000 and $250,000 to, of all things, the Clinton Foundation.
Well, what I have done is I've given a lot of different events at Mar-a-Lago for the veterans. We have many. I can get you a list. I didn't know you'd be bringing this up, but I can get you a list of all of the events I've given in Palm Beach, Florida, and different hotels I have for the veterans. And I've opened up my houses. I've opened up my in a couple of cases, my buildings, and we've given many events, but I could certainly get you that list, and I'd be proud to. I did give to the Clinton Foundation. What I didn't know is they'd be using it for private aircraft and things like that. The Clinton Foundation was helping with Haiti and with lots of other things, and I thought it was going to do some good work, so it didn't make any difference to me. Again, I was a businessman, and it was my obligation to get along with everybody, including the Clintons, including Democrats and liberals and Republicans and conservatives. As a businessman, I had an obligation to do that, Chris.
You know, you were talking earlier when we were discussing the poll about your support among the various groups here in Iowa. 60% of Republican caucus goers identify themselves as evangelicals, and you're doing very well with social conservatives. I know that you're campaigning today with Jerry Falwell Jr., the president of Liberty University, who has endorsed you. And in a new poll, 52% of white evangelicals said they think that you would be a good or great president. And you know, you don't fit the typical evangelical social conservative profile. And I guess my question is, why do you think you're doing so well with that particular group?
Well, first of all, I'm probably more honored when I hear that statistic than even the fact that I'm actually winning the poll by, you know, pretty good number. And have come back from where I was losing the poll. If you look, you know, from a few weeks ago, I think I was down on this poll, and now I'm up fairly substantially. So, but I think I may be more honored by winning on the evangelicals than I am by even the win, because, you know, I've just had a great relationship. I've just had a really great. When you have Jerry Falwell Jr. endorse me, that was a very big turning point. I went to Liberty University, gave a speech. We set the all-time record for attendance. And I don't know, I can just tell you there's something very special. As you know, I'm Christian, I'm Presbyterian, but there has been something very special as far as the evangelicals and my relationship with them. And I saw that also in the poll numbers, and it really stood out. And I'm very happy with it. But I think it's in support of Jerry and Robert. You know, Robert Jeffress, Pastor Jeffress has been tremendous, and so have many other pastors. I mean, we've had tremendous support from ministers, pastors, and from Christians generally, and evangelicals. So I'm really happy about it.
But, Mr. Trump, let's take one issue. You say now that the Supreme Court has ruled that same-sex marriage is the law of the land, and that any politician who talks about wanting to amend the Constitution is just playing politics. Are you saying it's time to move on?
No, I'm saying this. It has been ruled upon. It has been there. If I'm if I'm elected, I would be very strong on putting certain judges on the bench that I think maybe could change things. But they got a long way to go. I mean, at some point, we have to get back down to business. But there's no question about it. I mean, most people feel this way. They have ruled on it. I wish that it was done by the state. I don't like the way they ruled. I disagree with the Supreme Court from the standpoint they should have given the state, should be a states' rights issue, and that's the way it should have been ruled on, Chris, not the way they did it. This was a very surprising ruling, and I can see changes coming down the line, frankly, but I would have much preferred that they ruled at a state level and allowed the states to make those rulings themselves.
But just to button this up very quickly, sir, are you saying that if you become president, you might try to appoint justices to overrule the decision on same-sex marriage?
I would strongly consider that, yes.
Finally, you were campaigning with your daughter Ivanka, who is very pregnant, I think 8 months pregnant, and you had a suggestion for how she could help the campaign. Here it is.
Ivanka, it would be so great if you had your baby in Iowa. It would be so great. I'd definitely win.
Question, you sure, Mr. Trump, you don't want her to wait until Super Tuesday on March 1st, where there are a couple of states that have even more delegates?
Well, you know, I was kidding. In fact, that was at the event where we raised all the money for the veterans. And to be honest with you, I was kidding. But I wouldn't mind. Look, Iowa would be a great place for her to have a baby. And frankly, so would New Hampshire and so would South Carolina. We have about 3 weeks to worry about it. But they'd all be great places for her to have her baby. She's a great person. And hopefully it's going to be a healthy baby. That's the most important thing.
I was going to say, too bad she's not having triplets. Mr. Trump, thank you very much. We'll watch what happens on Monday night, and we'll see you next week in New Hampshire, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Chris.